Players down there.
Hi.
Roddy.
Hey. No, I'm supposed to be here.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. So?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome WWE Hall of Famer and host on Podcast One's Piper's Pit, Roddy Piper!
You know, I'm in a deposition. No, I don't recall. It's Hogan's rape tape. No. It's better when it's here.
He is.
He is? Yeah. So that's right, I'm sorry. But I'm glad you're here. I want to talk about the hair in your ass. Which you have for me for the last 31 years. I actually saw on, it was the WWE channel for $9.99. Earl Schreib selling a painted car.
Paint any car for $9.99.
And they have every star say it. It's so classy. Hogan's saying that when we first started, that he knew that I hated him and didn't like him. And McMahon was saying that Hogan didn't trust me. Well, McMahon was right. But I didn't ever hate Hogan. I never hated him. He was just a pain in the ass, but I never hated him. I know, I understand. But Hogan, they wanted to make him the face, and that's okay. But it's a very competitive sport, especially by our competitive gunslingers, and I wasn't going for that. You know, they don't realize villains make heroes. I got kids in here. I got kids in here. Oh, yeah. See? Fuck them. I'm the real hero. So bring it on. If you got a mic out there or something, ask me anything you want. If you want me to go, I'll stay. If you want to hear about some dirt, go for it.
At WrestleMania 3, your retirement match, it was a hair versus hair match.
Yes, sir.
After you won, Brutus Beefcake came out and shaved Adrian Adonis's head.
Yes.
Now, I've heard that Brutus Beefcake was really good friends with Hulk Hogan.
True.
I was wondering how you felt about Brutus Beefcake getting such a huge push off of your retirement match. How did you feel?
I know exactly the answer. Okay, here we go. Before WW anything, EFG, HFK, whatever they're at now, I have probably worked in 19 other territories. I got 2 out of Japan for life, so I don't count that one anymore. Another story. So, I've had many hair versus hair matches.
It is 542.
Detroit?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Los Angeles. I had a lot of hair matches in Los Angeles. I don't think I did Detroit. Where I lost my hair. Okay. Here's something, unless you've been there, that you don't really understand. When the barber cuts your hair, you know, he doesn't go a one first. He cuts it first. Because when you got those kind of clippers and it's wet, it doesn't work. It takes forever, and you know, and then gouges of blood. And if you're you want to remain, you just won the match. You want everybody to really enjoy the hair cutting, not get your butt, really enjoy the hair cutting. You know, but I know how long it was going to take and the process of how much it sucked. So Brutus, you're dumbass. Come here. Why don't you cut his hair? And that's why I made Brutus a barber, because it would have, at that time, that just Jeepers Creepers, it was so high, there was no place to go. And it took them about 15 minutes, and then but by that time you guys were tired of it. Well, not tired of it, but you know, on to the next match. And I didn't want to be there when you felt like that. I wanted to be out when you're feeling the best you can. So that's exactly how that happened. I just laid it on him because it sucked to do. Yes, sir. Sorry, that was me. Yes, sir.
Could you tell us your most memorable experience on They Live? And would you be able to share us with the famous line?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. That was a hard movie to make. It was. Favorite part, not favorite part. Well, on the roof of the Bank of America in Los Angeles, we're on the roof, that's where the satellite was, and out to kill the aliens, and I've got a pistol, and so that like all through the night, I think we got there about 6 at night here, and you go to 6 the next morning. And like all night, this big guy, you know, because they had to put, to make me bleed, what they do is they put gunpowder in a pouch, and then blood is in it. And then there's wires, and all these wires come down, and they come down your leg, and then the wires run this way, and over there, there's, I'll make up the number, 38 copper posts, and they run a nail down, and they go, and they pop, and they pop out. And this guy, bragging all day, I've been doing this, you know, for 37 years. And yeah, okay, dude, just let's get it done. Well, I don't want you to be afraid. Okie dokie, you know. So he said it's going to sting a bit. Yeah, okay, can we get it done there? And so it was time, and they wired me up, and the guy was afraid that with all the smoke and pyrotechnics that I was maybe going to be shy of it, which, you know, he obviously doesn't work for Satan, I do. You know? And so boom, and as I did it, he went, and I thought to myself, you know, the guy was right, it stung a bit, you know, and then come to find out, he put them on backwards. They all blew into me. I wanted to throw him off the roof, but I was afraid he'd live. So that's from wherever that came from They Live. There was no real fun part. I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning and sauna for an hour, and then when I came to my trailer, they had a sink full of water and ice water, and put my head in that for like 30 minutes, and you know, well, one time I did that Legend House and I got waxed. I guess that's worse. Don't ever get waxed. Heart left there, I realized, but I'll put my face in cold water before I get waxed again. I'm a Chippendale. Million jeans of Chippendale. Worse, Pat Patterson. It's better when he's here. I stay in trouble. Yes, sir.
You were on an episode of Cold Case. In the episode, it was about a guy who became a wrestler to get close to his kid. Now, there was one scene where the father brings in his own action figure for whatever he was doing. You may not, but I was wondering, do you happen to know if it was like a San Francisco Toymaker's figure, or what was the figure originally based on that was customized to make that new action figure? Would you know out of curiosity?
So just what was it in Cold Case?
Okay.
And there was a character from my son.
Well, it was the character who was your character helped to knock off. He brings his son an action figure of I believe his character, because that's what they bond over wrestling. And I was just wondering if you happen to know what the base figure was that they customized to create the character that he was bringing to his son. If you knew either way what the figure was or not.
Did it get any harder?
You want to know the combination to a safe too?
I think the base figure was from the ones that made the big dolls, GLM? LGM, yeah. And that's where the base figure for Cold Case. You know, CBS got a lot of money. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Could you give us the backstory of how you ended up with the Intercontinental belt from the Mountie? And then lost it to Bret Hart?
give you the cliff notes.
Okay.
Let's see. Like I wouldn't take a dive for anything. You go to Madison Square Garden and tell them you're not taking a dive and see how you go. Yeah. It's not exactly the police athletic league that runs Madison Square Garden. A lot of heat. Very dangerous at night. Very dangerous. So what happened was they kept trying to get my shoulders trimmed because New York was traditionally, I'll use your words, a baby-faced territory. And they ran heels through 2 top ones twice a year to go up against Bruno. And that was their mentality. And when I came along and started Piper's Pit, their mentality stayed the same. And all of a sudden they had a product that they had never had any attention to. I never really, they didn't know how to handle it or what to do with it from a mathematic point of view that makes money for the business. They couldn't identify it. So they wanted right away to beat me because I was the hottest heel. But I had done this in so many other places before them. Like I was telling no, why? I'm the hottest guy you got. The war to settle the score was Hogan, who was the champion, against myself. And they wanted me to take a dive. Why? He's the champion. They want to come back in a tag. And they want me to take a dive. Why? He's the champion. And he's a bouncer. You know, with an odd haircut. Doesn't make business sense. And then, so after that though, I got the reputation, and then WrestleMania 2 boxing match with Mr. T. Lots of luck, buddy. So, I'll tell you, the way they should have done it, war to settle the score, I should have just taken the belt from Hogan, went into the first WrestleMania tag team, went out of the tag team with Hogan fighting for the championship, give it back to him sometime and roll on to what I was going to do. It showed me that the mentality of the suits and ties were just to kill me off. They didn't know any better. So to answer your question with Bret Hart, I was taught by the last of the Gorgeous George guys, and I got a master's from the Einstein Institution here. Well, you look as you come along because so many people help me. All of a sudden I see Bret Hart. And the first time I saw him was in Toronto, Maple Leaf Garden, he was just white. Pale blue trunks on. He was with this guy, Don Jardine, which is just like a real Joe jerk. And I remember Bret had Jardine against, it was the first match. Bret Hart had Jardine against the rope, right? And so the referee comes and everybody puts their hand up, and Jardine's got his leg behind Bret's heel, he doesn't know it, pushes him, Bret falls down. It's like, give me Jardine. And I felt for him, but as I got to know him, and as he is and had that, he was going up strong, he was worth it. So, for me to give him a hand up, the part about taking a dive is my business, but also making the professional wrestling business run is my business too, even if it has to be at my sacrifice. So why it meant so much and the match meant so much is they always put me in hot angles, and DQ, because I wouldn't take a dive, was their take on it. And I said, sure, I'll just keep doing that. But when it comes to Bret was worth it. So I just took the belt from the Mountie because in beating me, it would throw him up to where he needed to be, and then he'd either fly or not fly. So that's the reason. But so you know, I am a villain. I didn't lose that match. Okay, so because it was really interesting. You guys are great. I had gone to Bret's house and met his mom, and her name was Rose, and I bought her like a dozen red roses. I loved her. They had a big pizza oven, you know, for the family, and they just made real cheese sandwiches. I know, really amazing. You know, grilled cheese sandwiches that they did. And I did a thing where I didn't want to wrestle him in front of you. And there was one time when he turned and I said, would have had you, dumbass. You know? He's still young. But when we got in the ring, I was a champion. And it's the first time when you're a champion, you wrestle different. It's not punching and kicking, it's a whole different ball of wax. And the challenger must show he can take the belt away from the champion, even for those 60 minutes. With that said, I just never had the opportunity to tap into that in the WWF. I had other places. So in any case, just to wind it up, is really when I had the bell, you know, you guys were great because you weren't screaming at the referee. We all were all in, and you were just asking me, don't do it. You're like, why? Why? Because every villain has to have a redeeming quality. You saw you got it. You know, if it's Manson, like, I don't even watch something. I'm not going to watch anything about Charlie Manson. I'll even give him the time or put his name up, piece of garbage like that. But if you're just kind of a villain, and you have a redeeming quality where and so is with the bells, no, don't do it because we don't want to hate you. And that's the purest emotion you can get in an arena at any time. I don't know if you've ever seen it before or since. Boom, that goes away, Brett, sleeper, kicks the top turnbuckle, comes back, referee counts my shoulders, but that's not correct because the referee, the sleeper, is an offensive move. And so when I went back, no matter where my shoulders were, the referee should have checked Brett's hand first. If it dropped 3 times, then he could have counted my shoulders. So I didn't lose. I'm boring you with these. Yeah, well, one of those.
You mentioned, I think, on your podcast, you didn't really elaborate on it, but you were talking about the only time that you beat Uncle Gene.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that story?
Sure. I don't know if you will know Uncle Gene. You will. His name is Judo Gene LaBelle. He's the toughest man in the world. Not according to him. He's been choking me up since I was about 17. My dad. I wrote books with him, trained, got trained. Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, 3-finger grip. Unbelievable. Like, he was going to the Nationals and somebody washed his gi with red towels or something, and it turned out a light pink. He's 80 years old, he still wears it. Like, you know, red hair, he's always hacking around. But I was going to San Bernardino, I was about 19, 20. I was going to San Bernardino, and all the way down there, sure enough, I saw a turkey drumstick and blueberry pie. Damn. I wish I just loaded up and into San Bernardino, which was just a round building. And I come there and I'm looking, I don't know who I'm fighting, I'm looking at, geez, Gene LaBelle. I mean, frequent flyer. And so I get in there and Gene, he doesn't wear, he just got bare feet and I'm trying my best and whatever. And Gene like feels me and I'm down and Gene grabs the ropes and he digs his toes into my throat. Isn't that illegal? His toes into my throat. Why just have blueberry pie? all over the front row. I didn't know that's his Achilles heel. He started puking, I was puking, front row was puking, he left the ring, I got the 10. To punish me for it later on, I had to do a match called Loser Gets Run Over by a Motorcycle. I got ran over by Uncle Gene a couple times. Hiding place has nothing on me. Roddy does Dallas, yeah.
You were on an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. What was that like?
Oh, Chuck's, he's such a good guy, man. Walker, Texas Ranger. When I got the script and I got to the set, Chuck actually took out either 2 or 3 scenes of his, so it would allow me more time. Yeah, and he's a man's man. Him and I have something in common. As far as we don't mind giving the shirt off our back, but don't try to take it. There's that one thing. Chuck doesn't like to be the brunt of the joke kind of thing, you know. I think most men are like that. So,
One more question.
Chuck's been going up against the government. What do you think about what he's saying?
say it again.
Chuck's been going crazy talking about Obama and what's going on in the government.
In the government?
Yes, he do.
Yes, you do. I don't really give political opinions. I think that because I'm not qualified, I'm not a United States citizen, I'm here as a guest on a green card. I think this one, I'll tell you what I think. Two different things you got. Maybe we're speaking about the world and the crisis that's going on over with this ISIS and all whatever else is going on. Put it down, get there. I don't get it. I don't get it. Then you got people in the greatest country in the world, America, that are turning on their own people, you know. It's coward. Take a stand. It's coward. But with the police situation, I'll tell you what I think, and I'll just tell you what I think is the truth. I think that the Americans were built on not being bullied, taxation without representation. You threw the tea in the sea, whatever you did there, you know. When the Dead Sea was just sick. I don't know what you I can't remember. Oh, Boston. Threw the tea in Boston. Here you go. Think about this for a second. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? You think before you do, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? You think I'm gonna do, bad boys, bad boys. Is he getting old yet? Now, you've got a government entity, and you've allowed a camera crew to come in and make them superheroes. So to make some network a bunch of money. But I can tell you because of what I do, if that, I don't know, 20 years you've been hearing that, you know, I get to the point, what am I going to do? Why don't you step up and I'll show you what I'm going to do. One, which is like so wrong. Two, if you think that those guys, after a while being on that police show and being on film, don't go in the back on their own time and go, hey, I saw you, man. It's human, you can't help it. Over a period of time. And when they put that uniform on, and I'm a big policeman guy. I am. One of my son-in-laws was a captain, he only wounded twice. My other's Green Beret, just came out of LAPD. But, for so many years, they've been playing this and we've been watching them. It gets to the point, I think, that on the inside circle with the policeman, where you might say something to a policeman that has never been on TV in uniform, and he would take it just about how you said it. But if you get to be on camera now, you can't help but when someone says an insult to you, you overreact. It's almost a knee-jerk. Oh, you're saying that to me? Under the, auspicious that you're saying that to a policeman? No, I'm saying it to your ego. And I think that that's a terrible thing that they've done. I think that show's terrible. It does nothing for you. It does nothing for the police department. What the police do is what they do. What I best think they should do is put cameras on them because it keeps everybody honest. That's all. I gotta walk out on kind of birth control now. I got 4 kids. I never work on them. Anyway, is that it? Okay.
I have a two-part question.
Yes, sir.
In 2012, when it was you and Cindy Lockhart, how fun was that?
Myself and Cindy, girls just like to have fun, she's a great gal, really talented. Blondie and her were, Blondie's a huge fan. When I got fired from TBS, well, they stuck up for me on TBS, I met her. But I think, that, you know, Cyndi Lauper, if anybody deserves to be in Hall of Fame, it's Cyndi Lauper. Because they don't count the War to Settle the Score because MTV did that and they got a 9.1. And so they like to pretend that that didn't happen. But it was Cyndi Lauper and her manager Dave Wolf, and Cyndi Lauper was the female entertainer of the year that year. And when she got her award, the last thing she said is, and Roddy Piper, you're going to get yours, which is huge mainstream that we could never have got, that only because of her and her talent. And they snuff her. Why? I do not know. I don't know. Why the Macho Man can get back in. I'm thinking they should have Cyndi up there real quick. Jim Carrey. Shit me. I'm gonna give my rings back. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to know, did Jimmy Snuka know when you were going to smash him in the head with both those coconuts?
No.
Yeah, that was the best. I hate him. But
it was like this. Jimmy Snuka, it's like, how you doing, Jimmy? You know what? How was the funeral? You know what? That's all I could get out of it. And I got a 2-minute and 54-second interview I gotta do. And like halfway through, like I don't know it because they just were throwing at me the last second. Halfway through the day, like maybe in Allentown or something, I just said to somebody, go give me stuff from Fiji. And I don't know, I just, Hank's or Safeway and got bananas and pineapples and coconuts. Because I needed to say something, had 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And it was Chief K. Strongbow. And he brought the sack and he said to me, Rodney, I hate that name. My name's Roderick. Rodney, yes, Chief. Why don't you hit him in the head with a coconut? And I realized, that's stupid. Hit him in the head. Hit him in the head. And we're doing the thing, and you saw God, you know. So then, one of the funniest things I've been doing this rant on for 2 minutes, and he goes, "You making fun of me?" No, no, I gave you that idea, you monkey. Look at you. You know? And the guy behind the camera was giving me 30 seconds. You know, 30 seconds, 15, 10, 9, 8. Do something, Rod. And as stupid as this sounds, the way I could justify it is Jimmy had that seashell bandana on it. Oh, that was a head guard. And I was here back and wow. I hit as hard as I could. And he went down, but he brought the whole pit down. And McMahon was trying to pretend we're in this big studio. Behind us, like 2 meat packers pulling out a little doll. And he goes, "What are you guys in the guild doing? The skirts or whatever." And his eyes rolled on me. I thought I killed him. Oh, when the eyes roll, leave. But then he started moving, and I thought he was going to kill me. And that door I got into, finally, you know, the truth of the matter is, that the door, you come in the door, it was hard concrete, you take the right one, the dressing behind. I have my shoulder against that door, and my feet up on the concrete. The indentation of a PG and bomb. Oh, I'm glad I'm not there now. That's exactly how it happened.
Not gimmick?
No, I don't know how you do that to a coconut. You know, what is this, 1984-ish, maybe? 5-ish? In Allentown? Not many big coconut shops there. But you know what, we'll open one up, but how are we doing that gentleman there?
On Wipe Swap, we have a fun time.
Jeez, man. I hope you enjoyed it. It's just, Flair. Can't keep his clothes on, And I know he was going to take care of my wife, then my wife goes back. His wife talks to my wife. I wasn't thinking there, sweetheart. Hell comes to what? No. It was okay. It was a little, it was okay. okay. My wife broke that. My wife had him in a hoodie and a fake mustache in 4 days. 32 years, never been rode. You know, it was okay. You know, it's like, I don't think I'd do it again, no. Yeah, so that'd be fun. Since I quit drinking a lot of things, I have so much money. All right, let's see. Thanks for giving me some of your time. And you got one more? I'll do, and then I'll. What is it?
You know, I think the word athleticism is a good word for the athletes today, and the wrestlers certainly are that, but you certainly have had to get hurt, really hurt, you know, and they always say they've had surgery and stuff. So I guess they really are away for a period of weeks to really recuperate from real injuries.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the surgery, like, my neck, I broke my neck, and I didn't know it for about 6 months. I just thought it hurt a lot. And then went to UCLA, and they put 7 screws in it and fused 4 things. And it was supposed to take a year, but after 2 months I was back out. A little too fast. But then I found my shoulder was hurting too. It turned out I broke my shoulder too. So last October they put 9 screws in here, pulled everything up, put stem cells in. You know, I'm going for bionic. My right hip was replaced in '94, and I got 3 screws in the right ankle. TSA guy passed me down. I'm ready to marry him. I love you with all my heart. You give too much attention.